Stanley? Do I call you Chucky? Do I call you Charles? Chucky Stacks? What's your preferred?
It don't matter. It really
I gotta know what's your preferred. What do most people call you?
Chuck.
Chuck. Hey, got you. Okay, Chuck is easy.
Because I choose not to get caught up on titles. So.
Yeah. Okay. I gotta know your name though.
Yeah,
I can't just be like, yo.
Hey you, Flint.
Hey you.
Hey you, Flint. With the hat and glasses.
Can you kind of manage the room to make sure everybody's quiet when you're
ready to go?
When you're ready to go.
Okay. Can we make sure all our devices on mute too?
Thank you for the reminder.
Always.
Yes.
All righty. We about to go, y'all. As soon as Miss Felicia gives me the countdown, I need everybody nice and quiet so we can get the show going. You ready? 2, 1. Hey, you're listening to KGBC 96.9 FM Oakland and streaming online at www.kgbc969.org. This is the Anything Can Happen show with Kenya Asa, Quasi Dreams, and your man Cat Fitness. And y'all, we got a brother today that's going to talk about a lot of beautiful things. Can you tell us a little bit more, Miss Kenya?
Yes. I certainly can. Hi, everybody. We are really excited to have our guest on here today. His name is Charles. I'm going to start off by already saying Dr. Charles Stanley.
Dr. Charles.
Even though he said I could call him Chuck. Born October 13th, 1987 in Flint, Michigan. You were born when I was a junior in college.
Whoa.
He grew
Don't age yourself.
He grew up. That's okay, too. Looking this good, why not? He grew up in church and loved God dearly. Mr. Stanley graduated high school in 2005 after running the streets of Flint, Michigan.
Uh-oh.
I'm interested to hear how that went.
The hood of Flint.
Right. After seeing no growth and going to jail a couple of times.
Right.
Mr. Stanley
Hopefully nobody's looking for him.
Right. Well, he's in California now.
Dang, you snitching already? You telling me where you at?
Like, I don't know the area.
Right, exactly. Mr. Stanley started getting his life together by studying computer drafting and design at ITT Tech, achieving an associate's degree in 2014. Then he landed an engineer job. He decided to give back by spreading the word of God, by teaching in the county jail under his pastor, the late Dr. Mary Hatcher. He allowed God to order his steps and give him the finer things in life. In 2021, he received his doctorate in gospel, becoming Dr. Charles Stanley, as we know him today. Dr. Stanley loves to preach the word of God and teach, as well as paving the path for others who God has told him to help. He believes and knows God has a calling on his life. I want him to tell you more about himself. I don't want to give y'all all the nuggets, but everybody, please welcome Chuck, Dr. Stanley, to the show today. Woo-woo!
Hey! How you doing, Brother Chuck?
Thank you. I'm blessed. I can't complain.
Thank you so much for being
blessed
here.
Indeed. So blessed that you have a recording studio. Is that true?
Yes, very true.
Outstanding. Nice. What do you do at this recording studio?
I do gospel rap. I have my own record label, Save Us All Records.
Wow. Gospel rap. So tell us, for those who don't know, I know it's becoming a more prevalent genre, especially within rap and within hip-hop itself. But what makes gospel rap unique?
Pretty much what makes us unique is we talk about our Father. The whole key thing, like the movement of my label, is Save Us All. So we're speaking about the sound doctrine, telling those, encouraging those, using scriptures, God, and things that he have done for us to be able to show the light of things he have done for us and bring those closer to him. So we're taking something from what the enemy meant from evil and turn it into good.
Wow. And when you say the enemy, I assume you're referring to
Satan.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. So in gospel rap, are you allowed to like curse, or is it just like discourage? Like, because when people think of rap, it's usually like violent. It's usually involving drugs and like misogyny and things of that nature. So I'm assuming gospel rap is like more of a clean version.
Yes, PG-13, no cussing. Yeah.
Right.
Like Will Smith back in the 90s.
Right. Sure.
Early 90s.
Well, it didn't go bad for him, did it?
Yeah.
Worked out well.
Not too bad. Not too bad. And what got you into gospel rap?
Actually, because I was doing street music, I was doing street rap, and everybody know. I don't know. I'm gonna tell you. Music was created in heaven, of course. Lucifer was over music in heaven, so music always came from God. It was, we have a book called Psalms. So, just going back into that, getting my life right, I said, instead of me trying to live halfway, straddling the fence, I was still doing music, and I was wanting to change my life, and I'm like, man, I can't do it. It's either you gonna love one master and hate the other. It's either or. So I said, you know what? Let me try gospel rap, but I don't know if it's gonna work out because I was used to doing some street music. And actually, when I did embrace, I had to think about how much God loved me to make that sacrifice, to make that change. So it was, let me try this. And when I tried it, I just got so much love from different churches wanted me to come, and people wanted me to come do music and rap at their events.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, this is like, I like it. And then I get to encourage other people, and talk about the gospel through music, which is one of the greatest gifts is our voice. Yeah,
Right.
You can't beat it.
Well, let me ask you something. In the bio, it suggests that there was some tough action coming up, right?
Correct.
So you let's go back a little bit to talk about how that came about and how you switched your life over.
Well, growing up, we get back in Michigan, back home, it's a lot that goes on. And growing up in poverty and seeing a lot of things, I think when I was 6 or 7, that's the first time I've seen somebody get murdered.
Wow.
The neighborhood was a bunch of violence, drug selling,
This is in Michigan.
Flint, Michigan.
And you said the first time.
Yeah, yes. It was plenty more after that. So I was raised around a spiritual background. Like that was something like we have to go. If you wanted to go or not, it was God, and I thank God for my grandmother because she installed that in me. Like, and without her seeing that. And so as getting a little older, running the streets, trying to follow after my cousins because they was in the streets. And I'm like, I wanted to be like them. And my uncles, they was older cousins. I'm the youngest of the era that's a little over me, And so I wanted to be like them. And, they in the streets. So I'm like, that's something to do. So I ran the streets and just sitting as a kid, I remember just looking at a lot of things that was going on around me. And just focusing and just praying, like what I used to do to get away. I never did really want to play sports, but I got so good at it because my thing was sports was it was a way for me to communicate and talk with God. I just get away and I just be able to talk. So with me doing that, it actually kind of helped me because I was so bad. My family was telling me like, you're not going to even make it to see 15 years old. Like, wow, you're going to be dead.
What age was this?
They were telling you. I was probably 12. Like I got put out, I think, 12, 13 years old.
Put out the house.
I went to jail when I was 12.
What?
Yeah, and so
oh my God.
Yeah, it was crazy, and it was because of and see when the enemy have your mind, it's like that's why the Bible says, "He who have a mind to stay on thee, he keep you in perfect peace." When your mind is not kept in perfect peace, the enemy will take hold of your mind and grab your mind and have you running astray and going all these many different ways, no matter how old you are. Because I teach in the county jail, and I've seen kids and young people and whoever in there, and for murder and all kind of things. So all this stuff tied into me, going to get away from the family. And when I'm hearing all this negativity, towards me, especially being a young age, and it's like, I need something to do. So basketball and football was my way to get away. Wow. And I didn't know. And by being in the midst of that, I'd have been out at the park playing ball. I've been out in the midst of shootouts, people being shot at by me, and I'm in the mix, and I'm like 11 years old.
Wow.
Bullets flying past my face. So going through all that, I'm like, knowing God, and I'm saying it's something that's bigger that God has for me. It got to be a calling on my life because by me going through so much and seeing so much, and I'm still, at a young age, I'm only 34. So within that time, me selling drugs and doing all kind of things that wasn't right, to be so young, I'm like, God, I gotta have a calling on me. He have to have something that he's showing me that help other people.
Right. But the adults in your family, the adults in your life,
Mhm.
what were they doing at that time when you were getting in trouble, when you're going to jail? What was happening? Because you mentioned your grandmother,
Correct.
but you didn't mention anybody else.
So, like the adults, a lot of my uncles and older cousins, they was running the streets. My uncles was running the streets.
So it wasn't
my
like
aunts,
your parents were in the household, kind of like raising you at that time.
my mother, she was the only one. I grew up one parent household, single mother. She was working, you know, as like any other mother. My father, he was in and out of my life. You know, it was more so of a money thing with him. He would feel as if he give me money, that'll just buy his love.
Right.
So it really
money
never
isn't
was,
parenting.
exactly.
Money isn't love.
So on the male side, it was me teaching myself,
Right.
and a little bit from my cousins and my uncle.
Wow.
So I was pretty much out there, you know. And my mom, she don't know how to raise a young man. You know, a woman only can raise a woman and teach a man what she could teach him. You know what she's seen, you know, from her father, whoever.
Right.
She
Don't knock on
seen.
the ladies.
No, I love the women. I grew up around women.
Right.
You know, all
but
the
what
women
you're
in my
saying
life.
is that a woman can't necessarily teach a man how to be a man because she's not a man. Is what?
Yes. Not saying she can't raise cat
That's right.
fitness. So
Right,
you know, back up
okay.
off me, cat.
Okay, because don't let Mrs. Cat Fitness call in on the hotline
Hey,
today
hey,
and tell you a thing or two.
Yes.
You know,
Put me on blast, huh, yo?
Right. So can you tell us a little bit about the sports?
sports. So man, I got very great at sports. It was so, and like I said, I didn't want to do it. I just did it to get away. So I did try out a couple times for some teams, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not interested. Football was something mainly like my family did tell me, say, hey, look, you could make it to the league, or you could do whatever you wanted to do. My cousin, who I'm out here with, he used to stay in Detroit, so I used to go back out there. They used to wanted me to play. Coach was like, man, we probably can get you in the NFL, you know, even back home. And my thing was, it was when you go through a general curse in your family, like a lot of my cousins, like they had chances to go to college to play ball and do all kind of things, but they choose to drink, you know, drugs, all kind of things. So general curses was in my life, and it was to the point where that was me. That's what I thought that was for my life. I didn't know any better. So with the sports, I played probably football from 3rd grade up to 9th. I stopped 9th. I wanted to be in the streets a little more. So I stopped everything, but I still played ball on the outside because, like I said, that was like a communication between me and God.
Yeah.
I can leave and I can go, and I can sit and, you know, I can talk to him. So I continued that. And God is so great. Like when he have a vision for your life, he have a plan, like Jeremiah 29:11 say, for he know the plans that he have for you. Said the Lord thoughts of peace, not of evil, to give you an expected end. Well, he knows. So no scouts or anything seen me play. When I was finna graduate, I had a full scholarship for Washington University in St. Louis to play football.
Wow.
But me being want to run the streets and not leave my mom, you know, because it was just me and her at the time. And I didn't want to leave her, and I turned the scholarship down, and I ran the streets.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I ended up eventually. My mom had a daughter, and then she had a son.
Wow. Okay, so you're much older, I assume.
Yes.
So was it like growing up, you know, while you were playing sports, what was really attracting you to the streets? Was it the fast life of the money and everything that was going on in the streets, or like what did you feel like was pulling you in that direction and not allowing you to kind of like pursue sports and other things that you may have been interested in?
What was pulling me to the streets, of course, you know, just like we hear about it in music on today, the money, the cars, women, you know, it's like power. When you in the streets and you got money, it takes money to be able to do whatever you want. When you got money, you have power. So it was being in power, you know, pretty much being in control, being able to do what you want when you want, and can get what you want when you want, not knowing that, hey, we can also have the same thing in Jesus Christ, as long as we just switch partners. We don't have to go this path, this line that the enemy wants us to go. If we switch partners, we can have the same thing. And that's what I ended up learning a little later down the road. But it was just about power and being able to have power, man, have money and do what I want to do. And wasn't nothing like that feeling when the enemy had my mind.
So when you're talking about switching partners, are you talking about partnering with God?
Yes. Yes. Partner with God, leaving the works of the enemy and partner with God.
Outstanding. Have you always been a believer, or was there time that you like departed from your belief and you came back to it? Like how did
Because
that?
there's a big difference between
Yeah.
being made to go to church by your
Exactly.
grandma
Yeah.
Yes.
and actually believing in God.
Yes. I mean, I know God would probably was in heaven. Like, man, this boy just keep messing up. Like, when he gonna get it together? You know, because I know my grandmother, after all the praying she done for me, but it have been. Like I said, I started as a kid. Like, I'd have been Baptist. I'd have been a Pentecostal, Church of God in Christ, which is Kojic. I'd have been an Apostolic. You know, so growing up, I want to say I stopped probably because I was rebellious. Like, my mom, like, you got to go to church. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not going to that place.
Mhm.
You know, I was young because, you know, all I knew was the streets and disobedient and everything that came with the streets. So I slipped a lot of times, you know, and no one is perfect, you know. And 12 years old is when I finally really came back, when I was facing a little time. Well, not a little time, but they were trying to give me a lot of time. But
Wow.
that when I was,
Wow.
yeah. So when I was facing that, and that's when I met my late pastor, Mary Hatcher, who just passed away. That's when I met her. You know, I was in the backseat of a police car. Not knowing what to do, and she was telling me, you know, through the window, she like, baby, God gonna bring you out of this. And I'm like, lady, I don't even know you. I mean, I hear, you know, understand God, but man, I don't know if he can help me out of this. This is 12. You know, I'm in the back of a police car, and it's just so many things running through my mind, and I'm like, well, God, if you got a plan for me, this is the perfect time to get me out of this.
This is the time to stop being silent, God.
This
Right?
is the time to speak up on your boy's behalf.
Right.
You know?
Well, that sending her was the way to speak.
Yes.
He was speaking it.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Wow, that's powerful, brother. And would you say that there was one moment that solidified your belief, or was it a series of moments?
It was serious because of just going through, like, normally when an average person, we go through ups and we go through downs, right? And as of going through something, it's kind of hard when the bills may be due, or your kids acting up, your spouse acting up, or just so much piling on you, and it's so much hard to think of, oh man, God gonna make a way. Man, he gonna make a way, but my rent $1,400, $1,500, kids ain't no diapers here, so it kind of distracts you if you ain't got the right mindset, you know, and which is all of, sometimes we live more in a poverty mindset, you know, than anything, and when we don't live of a faith-based mindset. Yes, you know, and so
But that's the most challenging thing, is like, you know, having blind faith in something and knowing that it's just gonna happen in its perfection, right? So what allowed you to find that within yourself? How did you initiate that belief that, you know, you couldn't see it, but you knew it was there and it was eventually gonna happen?
I had to tune in straight, literally tune in with God. A lot of fasting, praying, and it was
fasting like how? What
like fasting, Daniel fastings, giving up my food, or if it's for social media or something, just fasting, giving it away, and giving God, giving my all to God.
We're gonna break it down for the viewers.
Yes,
like,
sir.
how long did you fast for?
Well,
like,
normally 30 days.
30
I'll
days.
do a 30-day fast, Daniel fast.
Fasting.
What's a Daniel fast? For those of us that don't know.
Daniel, no meat, just fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And it's a time that you have with God. If it's something that you need God to do for you, you would turn over your plate and you just go straight in with him. Just like reading a book. When you focus in that book and you reading them words, and it's just you in that book, and that's somewhat pretty much the fasting was. It was, and it teaches you control as well.
So you only ate fruits and vegetables, and I assume water for 30 days?
Yes.
Wow. How much weight did you lose?
Man, I 15, 20 pounds. You know, it depends on
some
the
spiritual
age.
baggage.
Yes,
too, right?
it lost some spiritual baggage as well, because it was me. And back to your question, Kat, you know, about that, but that's a little bit what caused me. And then too, being able to like start all over and saying, hey, look, and the women at our church had a service, and it was called "How Bad Do You Want It?" And my thing was, do I want it bad? Do I want success, or to be wealthy bad enough than out here living these streets, chasing these women, or doing this? Like, how bad do you want it, Chuck? Are you willing to give up everything and sacrifice everything for what God have laid before you? And my thing was, I got tired after getting a little older in life. You get tired of messing up and you're losing everything and got to start over. That's not fun. You know, that's like being in first place, and when you get to the last 2 seconds of the race, you know, you get tired, and now you're in second place. You got to start all over again. You want to keep starting over. It's better to do it right the first time than have to backtrack and do it. So the fasting allowed me to open my eyes and be able to see, saying, hey, look, how bad do you really want it? Are you?
So at the end of your fast, what kind of major change happened at the end of your fast or during your fast?
During the fast, I started seeing doors starting to open for me. Mm-hmm. God to speak to me more. Faith come by hearing, and hearing come from His Word of God. So by me getting into that Word, He started to speak to me more, opening my eyes. I started to see things for what it was.
And what did it sound like when He was speaking to me?
Like it was a quiet voice, a still voice, like my servant, you know. And it's crazy because the first time I heard His voice, I'm looking around like, you know, somebody, and it's just me, like, you know. So it was kind of scary, you know.
So how did you know, like, you know, somebody like that, like you said, it could trip you out. How did you know that wasn't like you were going crazy or anything?
Or that you were just hungry.
Hallucinating.
Like, look, I'm hungry.
It was really your stomach talking. Like, how did you know?
Because God's always have a still voice. Like my pastor, she taught me to tune in, learn to tune in to His voice, to hear His voice. And it's small. Normally when it starts, your ear will pop, like you're on the airplane. And that's when it like, in whatever ear He speak, it'll go like a quiet, and it'll pop. And then that voice, that little still voice will come. And you're like, okay, that's what she was talking about. That's it.
Wow, that's powerful. And that's it. So you talk like you've lived a full life, which it sounds like you have. I mean, like getting all that trouble at 12, that's pretty young. I mean, like relative.
It was after 12 I got in trouble too. I went to jail like 3 more times after that.
Okay.
But weren't you scared? I mean, I have a 12-year-old, and let me tell you, he would not last 1 second. Like, weren't you scared, or you just weren't scared because of your upbringing?
Look, I never been scared. Only person I was scared of was God. But in the streets, I never was scared of nobody. Like, because I knew my family, who they were, the background, and then me, and the attitude I have is like, why be scared of anybody that's in the human flesh like me?
Yeah.
What I'm scared of them for?
Yeah. That's
no need to be. I'm like David when he slew Goliath. It was a giant. You know, he took Goliath down with a slingshot.
Right.
So if he can do that, just imagine. So why be scared of anything?
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful, man. And yeah, I mean, you're 34 now. You have your own family, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So how would you say you shared this knowledge and this wisdom and this life experience with, like, do you have any sons?
Yes, I have 2 sons and a daughter.
You have 2 sons and a daughter.
Yes.
So how have you been able to share your experience with them to help them avoid the mistakes that you've made?
Well, for one, starting off, like when I was 12, that's when I started, you know, doing things the grown up thing, which I shouldn't have. But so going through having sex, 12 years old. So growing up, being able to go through all this stuff, and by me seeing, like, my oldest son he'll be 14 this year. God and him saved my life. Like, my last time going to jail was 2008. The detectives came to my house, you know, got raided, and I had just found out that I had a son, right? Wow. And I did not want my son to either come visit me in the cemetery or behind the bars. Because the way I was going either route. You know,
you were like 19, 20 at the time?
Yes. Wow. And so it was like, okay. And by me doing that, I had made up in my mind. I said, you know what? I'm going to drop everything. I had $10,000. That was all I had. The police took a bunch of money. So I had 10 grand left. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start a business. Open up me a clothing store, right? Yeah. And I'm like, okay. Went to praying, talking to my pastor, her husband. He like, son, you know, God needs you. And as and then I was already preparing myself to start to be able to teach my son, because my father wasn't in my life, you know, as a young man or as a kid growing up. So I was already getting them steps, ordering things already. And I said, well, hey, you know what? I want to make a executive decision, you know, for the family, for my generation, for my descendants that I'm creating, that I'm starting this legacy for. And I stopped everything. So now fast forward to my 3 kids. It's like, by me too going into business, and what we know, first rule of the house, God is first, no matter what. We put God first. If we can go to sports activities or go whatever we need to go, we got to give God his time. Like without him, we wouldn't have the things we have in life. I wouldn't have woke up. They wouldn't have woke up. So that's number one. And number 2 is, hey, look, do your best that you can do. And by me, you know, being around all women, I never too much like done women wrong or anything. But so it was by me seeing what was done to my cousins or what was, you know, being done. Hey, look, I don't want my daughter to go run into a guy that was my past me. The guy I am now, yes, I love my daughter to find someone, but who I was before. So I teach my baby every time I talk to her, baby, you know, you're the most beautifulest girl in the world. She's like, I know, Daddy. I know, Daddy.
Because that relationship with your father will keep you from falling into a whole bunch of nonsense.
Exactly.
Having that, get, like you're saying, giving your daughter those kudos and giving her the encouragement and the love and the, you know,
Yes.
all that she needs. She's
Yes.
not going to go out there to know, you know, I'm not going to say it.
That's
Somebody
right.
that's not appropriate.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I didn't want that for her. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm teaching them, and right now I'm teaching my kids generational wealth, even getting into the business. You know, my son, he told me, he said, hey, Dad, I want to be like LeBron James. And I said,
What?
no, you don't. You know, because I was, when I was younger, I called it, I was a kid. I said a doctor, which was a doctor, and I wanted to be in the NBA or NFL. That was my dream. And then I had music in there as well. And so I ended up being an engineer because I graduated college. And a little bit, I'll get off into that here in a second.
Like mechanical, electrical engineer?
Yes, engineer architect. Okay. So, but my son say, so I want to be LeBron James, Daddy. I said, no, you don't. You want to be the guy who paid LeBron James.
Ooh.
You know, you want to be the guy that's sick, because LeBron is going to take, after so many years, that man going to have to retire. But the man who owned that team,
Right.
he ain't got to retire. All he do is passing the torch down, and he don't work hard. So I'm teaching them to not to work hard. So what I did, my daughter, she have her own organic lip gloss and nail polish. It's called Just Me by Shanice. And then both of my sons have sneakers, you know, the M Runners. So it's me, because I never was taught that, hey, look, go and be an entrepreneur. Right. It was always go work for somebody 9 to 5. You have to get this house and have a fixed mortgage for 30 years and stay here.
Yeah. Even though you were an entrepreneur in the streets.
Yes, I was an entrepreneur in the streets. That's what started my entrepreneurship off, is me being in the streets. And like I say, I listen to E.T. a lot, Eric Thomas, and he was like, man, you can have a house in this state. You can have a house, you know, over here. You can do this, you can do that. We never was taught that, you know, especially by being the color that we are. It was like I say, just go work here, do this, and you stuck here. Because I look at my grandmother live in a house that she lived in until she passed for 30-some years, 40 years. My grandmother stayed in this one house. And and now that I travel the world and, you know, open up businesses in different states, it's like, man, this is possible. Through God, anything is possible. Like, this is real.
Right.
Yeah. That's powerful, brother. That's powerful. And what does it look like to, because you mentioned a few moments ago, putting God first, right? So for somebody who's still developing their relationship or their belief in God, like, what does it look like to put him first?
Man, it looked like putting him first. It's the greatest. My pastor always tell me, working for God may be hard, but the pay is out this world. So when you put him first, he's gonna bless, like, tremendously. And don't get caught up. Like, we have a lot of people that want to worship and follow after God for the blessing. Don't never get caught up in what he can do for you is what you can do for him. Because without him, he sent his only begotten son, you know, to die for us. So that's the most important thing right there. But when you truly in God, and you know, and fruit is coming on your tree, the labor from your fruit, and God will open up he said he'll shice up the windows of heaven and pour you out blessings that you don't even have enough room to receive. And the last, I'll say, 10 years, it been blessing after blessing after blessing after blessing, just following after God. You know, I have 8 businesses. I just started another one this year, a jewelry store.
Let's start it from the first one.
Yeah.
You got 8 now. Some of our viewers just want 1.
Right.
You know, the first, a little bit about me going into my engineering. So I was sitting at the house after I had got rated, and a commercial came on Everest. I'm pretty sure you may all seen the commercial.
Everest College.
Yes,
You're
Everest
sitting
College.
on the couch.
And you sitting on the couch. Get off the couch. You go to college doing nothing. Wasting time. And I'm like, he's talking to me. Like, I stood up and everything. I'm like, this is a sign. This is a sign. God, I hear you. And so I said, well, you know what? Okay, I'm going to go sign up to school. I found a college, ITT Tech.
Hey. So
I instantly run there. And I say, look, I want to start a trade. I want to do engineer architectural. So I end up going into a program called CDD, Computer Drafting and Design. And so I end up finishing it. Thank God, it was tough. I end up, when I left the streets, like I say, it was no turning back, no going back. So I ended up working 2 jobs. And I was working 70, 80 to 100 hours a week and going to school.
Woo.
So it
And
began
going
to
to
get,
school?
yeah, and going to school. So it began to get a little hard and frustrating. And sometimes I did want to quit, but I kept faith and I kept believing in God. And it was like, I know it's something better than this. And then I went to,
what age was this?
this was, I was probably 18, 19, like right around the time when I found 19, when I found out how to have my kid with my baby on the way. So around that age.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting here like, I need to do something. And my thing was, if I say I have all this faith in God,
Mhm.
why am I working this hard? God don't want his children to work hard. Not
Not
at
like
all.
that.
Like not, you know,
Not like
so
that.
I'm questioning my faith now. And I'm like, something is going wrong. Like it can't, it's something not right. And so I'm saying, well, you know what? Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I end up stopping the job and I said, I'm gonna focus on schooling. I had one job. And I know I got a kid on the way. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna open a business. I opened my first business, which was a clothing store called Fresher Than You, FDU Apparel.
Hey,
You know, Fresher Than You, you know. So,
shout
you know,
out.
'cause shout out to Fresher Than You. And so it was, let me start there.
Yeah.
And I ended up going to New York, take the 10,000 I had, went to New York, and I bought a bunch of stuff, bought a bunch of clothes to bring back home.
So you already knew how to flip, right? So
Yes, sir.
Just like
Flip.
in the street.
Hey, just
You know,
same way,
recop.
flipping that bag. you
Yeah.
know?
So what principles did you take from the streets that you learned, you know, during that time and start applying it to your own personal business?
Well, what I took from the streets, of course, money. Being able to manage money,
Yeah.
learning how to manage, putting the money where it needs to be. I took out because you can even in business you can learn to trust the wrong people, even in the street. So I even took that to watch out for certain people because there's snakes no matter where you go. If you're in Christ or whatever you do in your life, it's still gonna be snakes out of there because Lucifer was one of the biggest snakes. So I that was another thing that I took, you know, from the streets and just being able to organize everything, keeping everything afloat because running in the streets and having your own drug houses, you got to organize. If you want to make 20, 30,000, you know, a month or more. So you got to learn how to organize and count, be able to know how to count.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned 8 businesses. So outside, you mentioned jewelry. Obviously, you got Save a Soul Records. Well, what do we miss?
We have construction. We do painting, home remodeling, creative colors. We have CNS lawn service. I do landscape, CNL photography. So we do photography. I just opened the diamond company, which is called Stacks Diamond Jewelry. We have that. We have
You mentioned the lawn service.
yep, CNS lawn service. Then CNL photography. We have that. We have
You mentioned. You said a clothing store.
yes, FDU Apparel.
Okay.
So clothing store. Fresher Than You.
Fresher Than
We
You.
have a real estate. We in a real estate. So
Wow.
Abundant Living Rentals.
Wow.
So we're gonna get back to this after our commercial
Because
break,
there's
y'all.
a lot of
we got-
businesses coming.
there's a lot
my
going
pen
on.
running out of ink.
You're listening to KGBC 96.9 FM Oakland and streaming online at www.kgpc969.org. This is the Anything Can Happen show, and we're going to take a quick music break. Can you tell us a little bit about this song that we're about to be featuring?
This song is featuring Chucky Stacks, Z. Shout out to my boy Z from Texas, and Hurt. He right here in the California area. So it's called Say They Tough. It drops actually in 4 days on all streaming sites. So go get it. It's just talking about how the people in the world, the enemy, have us thinking that we tough. Like I used to think I was tough in the streets, but when we convert over to Him, only person tough is God.
Wow.
Let's get it, y'all.
They wanna see. They say they tough. We cutting up. That's what they living for. Christ alive. He tough. He rose up. He who we living for.
Ooh, that was fire, y'all. You're listening to KGBC 96.9 FM Oakland and streaming online at www.kgbc969.org. This is the Anything Can Happen show with Kenya Asa, Kwesi Dreams, and your man Cat Fitness.
Wow.
Can you tell the listeners how they can find that song again?
Yeah, well, they can find it. It's on all streaming sites. It come out the 21st of this month. Shout out to Hurt, he from the Cali area. My boy Z, KMF, Kingdom Music Family, out in Texas. And then me, from Flint. But Spotify, Deezer, Apple Music. You can even purchase it on Amazon. So shout out to my cousin, which is my producer. He made the track Infinite Audio. And my boy Growth, Goat Money. So yeah, check us out. Save a Soul Chucky Stacks, Google it. My album, I released an album, my first album called My Life Is My Testimony. That's on there. And some other music that God has given us to share, So yeah, Save a Soul Chuck.
That was fire.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
We live for.
Yeah.
Trap,
I think it's trap gospel. I think y'all, yeah.
I was waiting for
Is that like a actual thing? Trap gospel?
Hey, yeah.
Or it is?
They taking it and Thizzle, man. Thizzle one of the ones. He's straight from the street, and all his music is like that trap, like because he going and go get the people to trap. So his music is straight for the trappers.
I know a lot of people have heard about Lecrae.
Yeah,
he's been in the game for a minute now.
Yes,
of course he got like radio hits now.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
But that's pretty powerful. Like gospel rapping, it's becoming a thing. I mean, it is a thing. But
it started off with the gospel. The enemy, when he was kicked out of heaven, he just took it. And like, hey, look, I'm gonna run and do my own thing. So it's for God people to stand up to take what's ours back, to take it back.
That's powerful. Y'all taking it back for sure. But let's get back to these businesses real quick.
Yeah, let's get back to the money. Money man quiz.
Absolutely.
Yes,
back to the
money.
Of course, part of my responsibility is to bring that financial perspective, especially for the dreamers who listen to the Anything Can Happen show. Right, whether that's on KGPC 96.9, and they follow us, they like, subscribe on Instagram, ach.show. But to bring that financial perspective, to really hear how you got the funding to get these businesses off the ground, how you got the funding to make these dreams a reality. But what can you share with our listeners?
Well, like I say, it started off me. I ended up stopping my engineer job, right? And things had got rough because I was being obedient to God. And I was teaching in the county jail. I was going through there teaching, and it got a little rough because I was working so much and I couldn't teach. And the Bible states that whatever you put before God is your true and living God. I feel my job was my God. So it was hindering me doing music, me praise dancing, because I used to praise dance, and me going and teaching in the jail. And that was my everything. And so when I stopped, I ended up started a business. This is the lawn service. I sold a $5 seed. And I bought one lawnmower, and that $5 seed turned into one of the biggest trees ever, which is a mustard seed. Mustard seed is one of the biggest trees in the world. Right. So I took that seed of faith, which was $5. And so that business right there started me. Then my income tax ended up coming. So I said, you know what? I told my kid mother at the time, I said, hey, look, let's invest some money. Let's buy some real estate. Yeah. This was back in 2014, 15, 14. Yeah. So I said, let's invest into some real estate. She like, well, you can't take no income tax money and make it. I'm like, why you can't? Like, I'm from the street. I can take $100. Why not? And I can take $100 and make 500, and 500 to make 2,000. So I said, well, I'm gonna do this. And as of the process, I just put a video up on Facebook the other day and said, trust the process, God's process. So as of me trusting in God and doing what he told me to do and being obedient, he opened doors. So that $5 turned into 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, and it just kept growing. So I had funding now to not just fund the store, the lawn service, but now I'm like, hey, look, let's go on a new endeavor. Let's go get a new business going to help, because my whole key thing was to help my family, not just my family, but help my community. because my community was messed up and with no jobs. So I want to be able to be the one to bring jobs back to Michigan, Flint, or wherever I go. Let's bring some jobs back. Let's bring jobs for our people. So now I have funding to go ahead and, hey, you want to open Creative Colors paint service? Oh, you need this amount of money to go buy this? You got this. And God just, by me, like I said, getting closer and telling myself after that women's service, how bad do I want it? I'm like, I want it bad enough that I'm willing to what ET say, you gotta succeed more bad as you want to breathe. So I say I want it so bad is I'm willing to give up everything to go full in it. And that was putting God ahead of my life. And by me putting him ahead, I had a guy told me, he said, as long as you keep preaching and teaching the word of God, you'll never have to worry about money a day in your life. And I literally never had to worry about money a day in my life. I don't worry about money.
Wow.
Never. Even to this day.
Wow.
But that's the faith part of the whole journey too,
Correct.
because even the journey of entrepreneurship, every time
Correct.
there has to be some faith in something.
Yes.
And it sounds like you knew that you would be caught by God.
Yes.
Like no matter what you did, no matter what journey you decided to take, you had faith that
Yes.
you weren't going to be just out there flailing alone.
Correct.
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you,
Yes.
Chuck. You talked about fasting briefly and everything. How important has your health been on this particular journey? Like, do you do anything to keep you grounded health-wise besides fasting to have a great connection with your higher, with God?
Yes.
And do
with
you
your
do
higher
that
self?
often? That's just to piggyback on that
Yeah.
question, Kat. I want to know how often do you fast?
Well, yes, I fast often. Normally, the first of every month, 3 days with nothing, and then I constantly I'm on my Daniel fast. That's one of my fasts that I love the most, and it could be a fast like if it's announcing social media out, it could be a social media fast because social media could stop you to block you from your relationship with God.
Wow.
So it's like, hey, look, I want to stop. I'm gonna fast for 2 weeks and block out social media, and I'm gonna get more into the Bible. I'm gonna pray more. And that's a hindrance. That's a stomach block. So I'm gonna just focus in with that. And to you, Kat, about the health. So my health with the fasting have been great, but of course, of putting a lot of this poison in our body because we have a lot of people that eat pork. Not knocking it, but pork, beef,
You can
and
knock
knock it.
it, brother.
Okay, hey, look, I'm home then. I feel good now. So for those who do eat pork, pork it's not good. Mad cow disease started it, and so a lot of people put that in which I don't know if you are familiar with the late Dr. Sabi, but I ended up studying him a little bit, and he was saying, hey, there's no such thing as a virus, it's mucus.
Right.
So I end up 2 years ago, back when this virus started, or 3 years or whatever,
Right.
I ended up starting to look. Yeah, the corona. I ended up starting looking to him and what he was talking about, what he was saying.
Yeah.
And it was, okay, let me look up foods that causes mucus. Yeah. And I looked pork and beef and it was so much food. A lot of red meat that cause, even potatoes cause a little mucus.
Potatoes?
Yes.
Oh.
And so I end up.
Why is he like, I can't eat nothing?
I mean, you can eat. Don't eat a lot of it.
We got air.
Yeah, don't eat a lot of it.
Not eat something there.
Air foam. You can have some air foam.
Does fitness? Do you have like a daily fitness routine?
Yes,
Do you work
yes,
out?
yes,
Does
yes.
that play a part in
Look,
your health? And your
that play a lot of part. And I went vegan last year.
Wow.
But
full vegan or like
full vegan, man.
It's
And look, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm here with my boy Cat Fitness down here, and where we at? Rodale? Hercules. Mom in Rodale. Okay, I'm still getting new to a lot of these areas, but I'm here and Cat, he did send me a 30-day meal prep.
Wow.
So you're just eating right, man. Health is wealth. It's very good for your body. And like I say, shout out to Cat again because I have seen the definition. Because of Cat, I'm in the mirror every day. I'm flexing now. You know what I'm saying? So Cat, he got us in there. And
prior to even working out with me, did you have your own thing that you?
Yeah, I went to the gym.
Thank you for that shameless plug as well. I didn't pay you, but I got you after the show.
But I went to the gym. I was in the gym probably 4 or 5 times a week. And like I say, eating. And I was one of those ones that did end up catching, well, I ain't even going to say virus, but had mucus in my system. Right. And I just had it December 30th. So when I talked to my doctor, explaining to her, because she was talking about the shot, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get the shot. I don't even like going to the doctor. So she like, well, Mr. Stanley, I know, I understand. We did a video Zoom call, and she say, well, I understand what you're saying about the meat and going vegan. She like, you didn't have a lot of the symptoms because the way you eat and the exercise, and then so that's really important, because a lot of people thinking, hey, we could just go eat like a pig and we're gonna be fine. What about the future? A lot of things that I do in life, I think about the future. I was just talking to my jewelry jeweler before I came here, and I was telling him, I say, well, Giuseppe, man, I just bought a 3D printer. He said, man, you move fast. And I'm like, I'm not thinking about today. I'm thinking about the future of what I can do and what I can make in the future. That's how we got to look at things in life. We got to, think about the future, not just for today, but for tomorrow too.
Well, I think you hit on a lot of a topic that we sometimes talk about privately and kind of gloss over sometimes, but which is, and even in all the media, there really isn't a lot of talk or encouragement of Americans to get their dietary choices in order, and how that not only affects your day-to-day health, right, but your ability to fight off anything that might, now
talking about getting a strong immune system.
Right, absolutely, a strong immune system. Everybody knows I'm very pro-vaccination because I'm not trying to mess around.
Safety first.
But but along with that, it's not a fix-all for, like you were saying, your future. Like if you get it together or try to have it together during now just because there's COVID to worry about, then what happens when you're not faced with some sort of like deadly pandemic? You just gonna go back to eating or taking care of yourself in not so much of a healthy way. So I think there is a balance, but if you're getting it, if you're attacking it from kind of an organic standpoint, like you were trying to be healthy and trying to be on that game prior to COVID.
Correct.
And so it's like a lifestyle of trying to be healthy.
Correct. See, back 2018, I had this was before COVID hit. I had the flu and pneumonia at the same time. That was like so deadly. It took me a week and a half before I went to the hospital, because like I said, I don't believe in the hospital. I'm gonna pray about it, and if God can't do it, then it can't be done, right? That's the type of faith I have.
Man.
So
I mean, if God can't do it, He did put a doctor in your
he did say physician is for the sick. But I believe in Him, and I'm here today, right, to be able to tell the story, right? So check this out, right? So I did go to the hospital after a week and a half, and I was in the hospital a week, and I told them, I say, hey, look, I don't want nothing new. I looked some stuff up, and I'm like, hey, look, this is what they give me. This is what I'm not going to take. And they got mad. They kicked me out at the 7 days.
Because you was trying to tell the doctors how to do their job.
Okay, check this out, right?
Yes.
They want me to take a pill. The flu normally lasts for, I want to say, 10 days or 9 days or something. It was a pill that was killing people that lasts a day less. Why would I take that chance to die?
I don't even want to know what that pill was, because that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, so I'm like, you know what? And I was nervous at the time and scared, because I'm like, only reason why I went to the hospital because my body began to lock up.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I started to eat, different. I stopped eating beef, pork, and all that.
Wow.
And so
when was this?
This was 2018. And so, I went to the hospital. The doctor say, well, they had me in a weight room for 20 some hours.
Ooh,
it was, and I was sick like a dog.
Yeah.
And I'm telling them, I said, something not right. And so he tried to tell me they did the pneumonia test and they did a flu test. So they were saying you only have the flu. I go home after 20 some hours and I come back, it got worse. And I said, something not right. So he come back, he said, well, you wasn't playing. I'm like I was playing, like I'm not, so he said, now you have the flu and pneumonia.
Right. Yeah, they'll do that. Oh, they will do that. They not all, but yes.
Yeah. I was the only one out there. I was the only one out there with it. And it was like, you know what? Man, sitting there, God came to my bed. I remember watching the Tupac documentary that came out 2018. I was sitting there. He said, man, you're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be fine. And so, thankful that I'm here today, because, when you have a call and a purpose of your life, man, we all have a walk and a path that we have to go down. We have to walk in.
That seemed like the foundation was very powerful, like having that calling over your life and acknowledging it, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you this. So believe it or not, we are starting to run a little bit short on time. Which
Yes,
is
sir.
a little unfortunate, but still a blessing.
It
I'm
is.
so grateful you're able to come and join us today. But let me ask you this. A lot of people have what we would call addictions, right?
Mhm.
Or things, I love what you said earlier about whatever you put before God is your God, right? Like that's a very powerful statement.
Yes,
right?
it is.
And a lot of people are attempting to fill that void that God is meant to fill with other things, right? Like that we
Correct.
call addictions.
Right.
So it seemed like up to a certain point, your addiction was the streets.
Yeah.
Right. And that was something that you defined as like your lifestyle, as your identity. Right?
Correct.
So how were you able to break away from that and replace it with something that was healthier and like conducive to the life you want to live?
Well, it was your mindset. It's very true when we hear that saying that a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Like if your mind is, if I say when I leave here I'm going to the store, guess what? When I leave here I'm going to the store because I didn't put it in my head so much. So if you put in your mind, hey, look, I gotta win. I'm gonna win. I am winning. That's what your body will fall suit with. And the body can't be no greater than the head. And so it was me having to have a mind, me praying, asking God to touch my mind. Like, hey, I need you to guide my mind, not just my mind, but my steps. Put me around positive people. You can't do well and you hanging around negative people. You can't be around somebody who don't have nothing. If I'm trying to sit and make $100,000 a year and I'm hanging with people that make $10,000 a year, it ain't go. Yeah, it's not gonna add. So it was me pretty much praying for these things over my life. God, look, I need my mind for you to be able to have me to have this mind. Take control over my thoughts. Yes, humbling myself and then fasting. By me fasting, that started me to break habits. Like it was when I was young, I was cussing. I did a fast where I'm like, look, I'm gonna try this for 30 days. Man, it took me 80 times. I kept starting over there just to get 30 days and stop cussing.
Going.
But I kept going, and that's
Yeah.
it's about yes, perseverance. We got to keep pushing our way through. We got to push. PUSH, pray until something happens.
Ooh,
Wow.
I like that.
You're an artist for real. Outstanding, brother. For that, we can ask you 30 more questions.
Well, I have one
Yes.
question for you because it struck me when we first started talking, when you talked about sports, and I had asked you about like kind of how you got started in that. You really described, because I'm always thinking about mental and spiritual health and care, self-care. It sounded like almost being in sports was like your meditation. Almost being in sports was like your way to commune with God.
Correct.
Almost like being in sports was your form of prayer.
Yes.
And so does that continue in your life, or what do you do besides, music? Is there anything else that you do to fill that?
To fill it now is I love painting, like my work that I do.
Yeah.
So painting, that helps me. That gives me like a peace.
Yeah.
And so that's something now that I have. And besides, I wake up every morning 3 or 4 o'clock and I'm meditating, praying, and read my word, talking to God.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that peace, I mean, when I do have time, I go shoot around. But since I'm becoming, older, it's me doing easier steps in life.
Right. And that's a lot of internal work.
Yes,
too.
a lot of internal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off, brother. We do got to wrap this
Yes,
thing
yes,
down.
no problem.
Thank you for answering
ma'am.
that last
Yes,
question because I really was curious.
Thank you so much. Y'all got to run this back. You already know. This is the
We got to give him a chance to give his social
Oh,
media
oh, my
platforms
bad,
too.
my
We
bad.
gotta-
You gotta know.
This is true. This is
Yeah,
true.
where can our viewers and everybody find you? Real
Well,
quick?
Facebook and Instagram, Chucky Stack, ChuckyStacks, Chucky Stack. So they're my main pages. From there, you can find everything else because I'm posting to all the other pages. And you can go check my website out, www.saveasoul.com, SAV-A-SOUL.
Absolutely.
.com.
And you can also find his information on our Instagram page, ach.show. That's at ach.show on Instagram. Also, like, follow, watch, subscribe. Share this episode with a friend. If anything you heard today touched you or inspired you, you can also catch us every single Thursday on Instagram Live at noon Pacific Standard Time at ach.show. You can also listen to us on KGPC 96.9. You know what? If you want to, you can find us. Just look us up. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. That was so good. Thank you so much. That was really good.
It was
The
a
story's
blessing. It was an honor.
Yeah.
That's just a piece of the story.
Yeah.
I'm writing a book.
You're writing a book right now?
Yes.
Oh my God. I didn't know that. We should have gotten
Hang back for a second. We need you to do a drop for the show. So, hey, this is Chucky Stacks. You're tuned into the Anything Can Happen show.
Anything can happen.
All righty.
I'll be right back.
Well, and Felicia.
And my phone just, yeah, the enemy didn't like that. Look, my phone just, look, it just went.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was live and I didn't get to finish.
Chopped it off.
Yeah.
No worries. We're going to have some promo stuff for you. Say peace out to all our YouTube viewers.
Peace out.
Yes, sir.